Good afternoon. Thank you to everybody for joining us here this afternoon, and a special thanks to Torah Umesorah for giving us this opportunity to discuss these very, very important topics. The topic of this session is the Chareidi community responses to abuse, addictions, and suicide. What are our successes and what are our failings, and how can our schools help? In 45 minutes or less. Abuse, addiction, and suicide are three very, very, very large and complicated topics. They need to be looked at as a group together, because very often the abuse leads to the addiction, which leads to the suicidality. But they also need to be looked at as three very, very separate issues, because in many cases they are separate. Somebody could be dealing with an addiction, somebody can be dealing with abuse, somebody can deal with suicidality, and they have necessarily nothing to do with each other. So they need to really be looked at in both ways. So let's start with our successes. Baruch Hashem, much has been accomplished. There are programs that are available, programs that we've had the privilege of working with through Torah Umesorah, the Meshgichim program, and other programs that are giving Rabbeim and Mechanches the tools that they need to pick up problems in the earliest stages. There are other programs also dealing with early intervention. There's a program, I had the opportunity this morning to speak to somebody in the hallway who has a program that's really working on Kiruv Kroivim, of teaching our own children the basics of Emunah, so that when they hit the bumps in life, and we all do, they shouldn't be thrown off the rails. So all these ideas are incredibly important, and they all help us very, very much in reaching out and getting to the problems before they reach crisis proportions. In addition to that, many, many yeshivas today have in-house programming dealing with mental health issues, and you may be surprised to know that even some of the biggest, best, well-known Tier 1 yeshivas, if you will, are quietly bringing in mental health professionals into the yeshivas to help them deal with the problems that are very, very real. Certainly we've seen a lot of success in raising awareness. And for that, we have to give a special shekayach to a number of special individuals. I'd like to start with thanking Mendy Klein, together with him, Moshe Wilson. Organizations like Amudim and others who have really brought these issues to the forefront, sometimes at great personal peril. But maybe the biggest sign of success is that we're able to harness the kayach of this incredible tzibur. When organizations like Torah Umesorah and Relief and Amudim and others can work together and work off each other's strengths, and together be able to achieve much more than any of us would be able to do as individuals, this is the real kayach of the tzibur, this is the real success. But now let's discuss the failings. But I think, rather than calling them failings, I'd rather call them challenges, because I think that's actually more accurate. Some of the issues that we're dealing with are growing at a pace that's faster than we can keep up with. I think that a common conversation that we have is how many phone calls we're getting and how we're trying to deal with the incredible influx of calls. The growing and alarming trend of the rise in use of drugs in our community, and it comes in many flavors. We often think of teens at risk being the ones that are using drugs the most, and of course there are those youth that are falling into the darkness of addictions. But it goes beyond that. We see a tremendous rise in the use of alcohol, of people who come home every Shabbos from a kiddush drunk, of balabatim, regular balabatim, with the quote-unquote recreational use of marijuana that has gone out of control. And then there are people who become addicted to pain medications. Altogether, all of these issues, like I said, are growing faster than we can keep up with, and this is a real challenge. I'd like to focus for a second, though, on the third issue, the issue of suicide and suicidality. The stories that we hear about are incredibly tragic. Each one is an individual case with a complex set of circumstances. But those are the ones that we know about. At Relief, we get on average probably between 2 to 3 moderate to severely suicidal cases a day, every single day. Baruch Hashem, most of these people won't act out on their feelings, but their feelings are real and they need to be addressed. In fact, when I was driving here from the airport, a woman called me up about her husband, that her husband has been depressed for the last 10 years and he's tried everything and he's given up hope. Now normally when they say they tried everything, when we go through with them, they didn't really try everything. So there is what to do. In this person's case, he did try just about everything. So there's 1 or 2 maybe holdouts. But so far we haven't come up with a mahalach to help him out. And his total despondency is understood, and it's very, very real. And again, it needs to be addressed. There are 2 parts of the world of mental health issues that we deal with. There's as we mentioned before, the prevention and the early intervention to help avoid problems. And Relief has been privileged to work with Torah Umesorah and others to work on some of the projects that they're involved in, using some of the data that we've collected to spot trends and see patterns. But the main focus of Relief is the other side, which is treatment. Our main issue is to deal with the issues that are at hand. As I just mentioned, addictions are a growing problem. And when faced with a problem that's this complex, and people are unsure what to do, yet they desperately want to do something, this is a recipe for disaster. I had a well-known Baal Sadaqa call me the other day that somebody had called him to help him, to ask him to help pay for somebody's rehab. So I asked, if we could speak to people directly, which is normally what we do. And the first question I asked when they said the person needs rehab is, who said? That doesn't sound very nice, but when you work in this field, you'll find out that very, very often, again, people want to do something, they're desperate to do something, and so the first thing I said is, let's send them to rehab. In this case, again, the person was advised to go to rehab by somebody who had absolutely no experience at all in the world of addictions. So it's something that we have to be aware of. But when the person does need rehab, or does need a higher level of care, where do they go? How much will it cost? How will they pay for it? And they're often going to be getting advice from well-meaning, but often ill-informed people. There are thousands of programs out there. And they all look great on paper. They have beautiful brochures and beautiful websites with rolling hills and horses, and the ones in Florida with swaying palm trees. They all look great. But it's not Club Med. It's serious business, and it costs serious money. And you need to know which places are serious programs and which are snake oil salesmen who are looking to make money off of your problem. I had a case the other week, blew my mind. A woman called me up, her son needed rehab, and she's paying $36,000 a month for him. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But for those of you who are aware of the cost of rehab, it's not so strange. Except here's the kicker. Her son isn't even there. Her son is home. They're charging her $36,000 a month to speak to him on the phone for a few hours a day. These people are got nothing. They're jokers. And as the saying goes, if the world is full of jokers, why aren't I laughing? So in order to deal with this, Relief has embarked on a project of researching these facilities, of understanding who does what, for how much, how long is the treatment model, what are the minimum credentials of the staff, what's the weekend staff ratio, what's in place for aftercare, and much, much more. We've worked with leading clinicians and other organizations to gather this information, and when we have it done, we'll have it available that anybody who needs this information should be able to tap into it. We're hopeful that in this small way, we can help those who need the help get back on the track to good health, and that will be our biggest success. I'd like to ask Mendy Klein to say a few words and to introduce Tzvi.